Yo, what's going on, boys? How you guys doing today? Welcome back to another new video. And in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at a build for the Hunter that recently got a buff, and I don't really see too many people talking about it. And today's build is going to be all about the throwing knives, since Bungie with the Rite 9 actually fixed a lot of the tracking issues that the throwing knives had, so they're a lot more consistent to use now in PvE and PvP. And overall, you just gotta make this build feel better, since this one is all about the throwing knives. They're gonna be doing extra damage. We're always gonna have a bunch of throwing knives, as well as constantly have restoration for survivability and radiant to give our weapons some extra damage, even though most of the time we're just gonna be spamming knives. And spamming knives is also gonna give us tons of orbs, as well as faster supers. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's build, and if you do, remember to like and subscribe to the channel in case you guys haven't already. And now let's move on, and let's actually take a look at the exotics that we're running on this build. Now for the exotic piece of armor, we are going to be on the Ophedia, and this is like the perfect chest piece whenever you want to do something with throwing knives. It's going to give us a second knife per melee charge, meaning that each melee charge is actually going to be able to throw 2 knives instead of 1. And whenever we get a kill with our knives, it's also going to increase the damage with our knives. And on top of everything, this timer will also be refreshed whenever we use our Gambler's Dodge. So this is essentially the perfect exotic for any knife related build. You get more knives while at the same time increasing the damage of those knives. And the damage increase is no joke. You're essentially going to be able to go around and just kill everything with knives if you really want to. Like, the only things that you might struggle with might be some of the mini bosses and of course bosses. But they're definitely going to be doing some pretty decent damage, and the knives are usually going to pack more of a punch. Now for our subclass, we're going to be just regular gunslinger. Now for your super, you don't really have to go with a specific one, but I'm going to recommend the Blade Barrage. Since we're not wearing Nighthawk, the golden guns are just not as good. So I just recommend that you stick to Blade Barrage. Now for your abilities, you want to go with Gambler's Dodge, so you can get your melee back whenever you dodge next to a target. You want to go with the Knife Trick. I think that Knife Trick just kind of works the best with this build. They're easier to hit since it's 3 knives, you can also hit multiple targets, and overall, the damage from the Knife Trick, I just find it to be a lot more consistent and a lot better. And lastly, you want to go with the Healing Grenade for some survivability, and also for a way to kickstart that restoration. For us to be able to use continually build up that restoration, we first need a way to actually proc it, and the Healing Grenade is just the easiest way. Now for the aspects, we're going to have Knock Them Down. It's going to give your Blade Barrage more projectiles, so you can do more damage per Blade Barrage. And also whenever we're Radiant, any final blows with our throwing knives will fully refund our melee energy. And this plus a fragment in the build basically guarantees that we always have knives in our build, so we're always going to be getting back our knives whenever we get kills, or whenever we just do some damage. We basically use never whenever we're into a situation where we don't really have knives that we can throw. Now for our second aspect, we're going to have a On Your Mark, which is going to give us increased handling and reload speed after using our dodge or hitting some headshots. But the main reason that we have this really is just so we can use those 3 fragment slots. Now for our fragments, we're going to be keeping it pretty simple. We're going to have Ember of Torches, meaning that every time that we hit something with our power melee, we're going to gain Radiant. And since we're constantly going to be throwing our melees out there, it means that we're basically always going to be Radiant. We're also going to have the Ember of Empyrean, our solo weapon and ability final blows, withstand our restoration, our Radiant. And this is a big one. This pretty much makes it so we always have that restoration and that Radiant going, and we just never run out of it. After that, we're also going to have the Ember of Solace, and this is going to increase the timer we have restoration and Radiant. So instead of the regular like 8 seconds and 10 seconds we have with it, we instead have 15 and 13 seconds. And this is another way of basically guaranteeing that we just continually keep our buffs, even if we're not seeing a lot of enemies. Next, we're going to have the Ember of Syrian. Whenever we defeat some scorched targets, we get melee energy, and we also create a fire sprite. This again is going to help with the uptime of our knives, and also we can always get our super faster, thanks to all those fire sprites. And lastly, we're going to have the Ember of Singeing. Your class ability recharges faster when you scorch targets. This gives you a huge amount of ability regen, and since our knives scorch targets, even if we're not getting any kills, we're just constantly going to be able to throw knives as long as we keep scorching targets. And it doesn't just have to be the scorch from our knives. If you have a weapon with incandescent, or just another way of scorching, we're basically always going to be getting back our class ability, and we also have a couple of things that work into that. Now for the weapons you want to run in this build, you don't really have to run anything specific. You can just pretty much run any good like solar primary, things like the Sunshot, the Vet Smith class, the Tikus, even things like Load of Wolves, or if you want to go with a legendary, you could go with something with incandescent. As long as you have something like that, this build is going to work pretty well. I was using the Sunshot for a bit since I love the Sunshot, and it worked pretty well. Now for your heavy, I do recommend that you go with a machine gun with incandescent if you have it, but if you don't, just go with a regular machine gun and it should go pretty well anyways. And lastly, for your kinetic slot, Tanishas is just the best. Especially when I go into champion content, just having a Tanishas with choke clip basically guarantees that you're always going to be able to deal with every single champion. And since the Sunshot doesn't really have a champion mod this season, we basically were just crutching on Tanishas to basically be able to deal with anything we run into. Now for the artifact, there's not really too many things that we can actually use this season since it's not really a solar season, but there's a couple of just basic ones that are always good. Heavy Ordnance is really good, and the reason that I recommend that you go with a machine gun, so you get increased damage resistance as well as better melee and grenade regeneration. Limit Break is also gonna be really good, especially with the Radiant that we have. It basically means that our Blade Barrage is always gonna be taking advantage of this mod and doing extra damage. Go from Lead as well as Dreadful Finisher are also going to be really good, meaning that you can use special and heavy a lot more often and just always be topped off. And the last mod that you want to keep in mind with this build is going to be Elemental Siphon, so we can make some more fire sprites, and every time we pick up some of those fire sprites, we're going to get increased super energy, allowing us to use super a lot more often. So this plus Limit Break just makes it so we can not only get more damage out of our super, but also use it a lot more often. Now moving on to the mods that were running on this build. For your helmet, you want Hands On, so every time you get a kill with your melee, you get some extra super energy. You want Harmonic Siphon, so you can make some orbs with your weapon. And then also Radiant Light, so every time you use your super, you give your allies some armor charge. For your gauntlets, you want to go heavy-handed, so you can make orbs with your melees. And then Impact Induction and Focusing Strike, so whenever you hit something with your power melee, you get both class ability and also grenade energy. For the chest piece, this is where we just have the resistances. Concussive Dampener, Wood Resistance, and Harmonic Resistance, but you can change these depending on the activity you do. Although I always kind of recommend that you keep the Concussive Dampener. It's pretty much good in any activity. For the boots, you want to go Orbs of Restoration, Absolution, as well as Recuperation. These are pretty standard just so we can use our abilities a lot more often and so we can heal with orbs. And lastly, for the class item, you want to go Bomber, Powerful Attraction, as well as Reaper. Reaper is going to let us make some more orbs after using our class ability, and since we're going to have that up a lot of time, we can really abuse it. Powerful Attraction will let us pick up any orbs that are around with our class ability, and Bomber will reduce the grenade cooldown every time they use our class ability. So as long as we keep spamming our class ability, we can constantly make orbs, pick up orbs, and also get our grenade energy back. So we're actually going to be getting our grenade back really fast, considering all the things that we have that help us get it back. So if we do lose Restoration, there's another way that we can kickstart the process, so we are always safe. And that's going to be it for the build. That's pretty much everything that you need to know to make this build successful. Now, the gameplay loop for this build is very simple. You throw your knives. That's it. You go around throwing your knives, use your grenade to get the restoration going, and then you just continue throwing your knives at pretty much everything that you see. Every time that you get a kill with your knife, you're gonna refresh that Radiant timer, you're gonna increase the restoration timer so you always have it with you, and every now and then, whenever you do not have your knives, or maybe you didn't get a kill, you're gonna have your dodge, so you can dodge next to the enemy and get your knives right back. Even whenever you're fighting just one big enemy, you can just keep constantly throwing your knives at them, because you're constantly gonna be regenerating your class ability super fast thanks to our fragment, meaning that you can just constantly keep dodging to get more knives back, which gives you more dodge energy to get more knives back. You're basically never gonna run into an issue where you don't really have your knives, unless you somehow died in that in-between time where you had no knives, but you also had no dodge. But that is very rare, and I don't think it even happened to me once. But this build is very fun. Now, it's definitely not gonna be like the strongest endgame hunter build. Solar itself is actually pretty weak compared to some of the other classes, especially because this main build, or this main selling point, the Nighthawk Golden Gun, is now on Prismatic. So when people run the Nighthawk, they usually are running it on Prismatic. So, you know, Solar Hunter is definitely not in the best state, but this build can definitely be pretty fun. And while it's not like the most end-game build, I definitely think that you could take it into maybe some of the lower, easier GMs and still have a pretty fun time. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it, hopefully you guys liked it. With the new tracking, the knives definitely feel a lot more satisfying, and they feel a lot more consistent to use. You would really hate when you would just throw your knives at like an enemy, and they somehow would just like phase through them. It was so annoying, but that doesn't really happen anymore with the new tracking. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Hopefully you guys like it. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want to see a specific video. We're now in this in-between time between Edge of Fate and the end of Heresy where nothing really is going on. So if you guys want to get a little wackier with builds, so you want to request a build, just let me know that in the comments below. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Thank you for stopping by. And I'll see you guys in the next one.